Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bobby Shell here again with Samson Jagoras, and today our guest is a close one we both know, Samson and I both, Parker Pursell. He works with our eQRP group that, just full disclosure, we both leverage and use. It's been such an incredible tool for us that we just wanted to create an opportunity where Parker could come and share some creative ways on how a solo 401k through his company can just be of assistance to real estate investors and those looking to create return and just give themselves time freedom. So I'll quit talking. Parker, welcome, man. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on. It's been fun getting to know you both. I've been a part of this company now for a little over 8 months. So my first day of work actually started on election day. So
Oh boy.
yeah, last year. So it was pretty fun time coming in, and it's been a joy to get to serve our clients and utilize all my skills to help you guys be successful. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Would you share a little bit with the audience just about what your company is, who they are, and what you guys specialize in?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a self-directed 401k company to where we utilize our clients. They're the trustees over their funds, right? So the beautiful thing is that you have complete control over your product. And when we set this up for you, we like to play guide to your whole journey. So essentially think about it like a Yoda to Luke Skywalker. We come in and we help coach, but Luke's got to be the one to go out and conquer all the battles, right? But we still help support our clients in what they're doing. So for us, like our whole product is about freedom, right? The freedom to invest, the freedom to go do other alternative assets that you may not have access to in your current retirement plans, which also are being held up by maybe custodians or advisors that you have to call, or they'll tell you, well, no, you don't need to go do this, because in theory, it's not going to be the best interest for them because they make money off of your money. But consider this plan like a vertically integrated plan to where you control every layer of the investment process, because the buck stops and ends with you. So if you want to go write a check for an investment, you don't have to call anybody. You can call us, but we're just going to tell you it's good to go, or, hey, you might need to ask these couple of questions. But the beauty is you have total control over this product. So we just like to offer flexibility and freedom for our clients.
When I was a W-2 employee and I had a 401k, my biggest frustration was the fact that they didn't give me the freedom to control my money. So in the middle of my time at that company, we switched over to a new 401k provider who allowed us to self-direct. But that came with some contingencies as well. We were only allowed to trade stocks. That was it. We couldn't do any alternative assets. We couldn't do any syndications. We couldn't even give ourselves a 401k loan, right? And the reason that they didn't do some of those things is because it was more of a headache for the trustee and the custodians to deal with, that they didn't want to deal with. Well, man, I've been trading and investing since 2008. I got my start trading futures and commodities in the middle of the economic housing crisis. And so I don't need anybody else to do it for me. I like investing it. And so it's infuriating. So the reason that I reached out to eQRP, we haven't even said the name, eQRP, was because of the freedom. I heard Damian Lupo, who is your CEO, talking on a podcast specifically related to real estate syndication, just about the freedom that came along with it. And as soon as I heard that, I was all in, man. I was like, how do I sign up? And the other part that people don't understand is the entire industry is set up in a way so you are kind of in the dark. You never fully understand like all the levers and everything that needs to happen in the background. And it seems really confusing. So people just go, yeah, I'll have you take care of it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you guys do that's really awesome is you have a whole entire portal set up where it makes it really easy for you to actually be your own trustee and actually oversee your account and handle the paperwork and even store it. And if you don't know, you can pick up the phone and you can call your account manager and they'll walk you through it. I call my guy JP all the time. I'm like, man, how do I do this? Or how do I do that? Or help me roll this thing over. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. It's always within 20 to 30 minutes, I get a phone call back after that email.
Yeah, I like to think it's like if you go and walk into a grocery store, right? And I say, yeah, you've got complete control to go in that grocery store. Absolutely. And then you walk in and you can only go down 2 aisles, but you're like, there's there's 50 other aisles I can go down this store and you're only telling me I can go down 2 of them. They're like, yep, that's what I'm telling you. So our plan allows you to shop all aisles because you should be able to control, the direction that you want to go. It's your money. Why should you be limited on what you can do with it? Right.
Yep.
So
And on that note, I was a bit like Samson. I've been long Bitcoin since 2017. And back in 2020, when it was in the 3 to 7K range, I just went all in with my investments. And then I put my retirement in. And then I was forced to liquidate a position before it went up 3 to 5X. And that was frustrating. And I also was looped in by Samson about eQRP. And since then, I've set one up. I've been able to take a loan out against it to buy land. I've been able to invest it directly into Bitcoin, which I want to leave there for the next 10 to 20 years, pass down to my kids. And more importantly, there's a lot of other stuff that I think is really unique to other people that would just be great to dig into, especially syndication specifically. So I'll be eager to dive into that because that's, what our audience is really here for. But Parker, can you just dig in a little bit and tell us about maybe how it can specifically be used for syndications before we get into maybe some other creative methods and just how the eQRP is different from other solo retirement accounts?
yeah, so we'll address the syndication first, right? So in any deal, you've got the syndicator that's putting it together, right? Then you've got the syndication being all of us that are putting it in. So with the eQRP or any retirement account, you have to remain a passive investor in any syndication that you get into, right? So it's a very broad term that we use because there's a lot of things you can get into, but whatever you choose to do, you have to remain passive. So let's just say you guys, for instance, I have a deal that I'm putting together and my investors, and let's say they're tapped out of any cash that they have in their bank accounts, right? And they say, oh, well, did you know that you can use your retirement account to get in on the same deal? And they're like, wait, what? Like, I didn't even know this was an option. Um, so yeah, like you can use your retirement funds, specifically, we'll say the eQRP, right, and invest that into the deal. So the beauty is first off, you can just throw it in. And when I say mailbox check, it goes back to your retirement account, but it goes back into a tax deferred setting. So you can either set up a traditional or a Roth, right? And whichever you choose to do is how it's returning back. And then from there, any of those distributions you get back, you can then redeploy into anything else. So with syndications, I think it's a great way to get into. For me personally, I'm more of I don't like to be actively involved in anything. So, if people got in on a single family home, like having to do all the contracting type work, that's not necessarily my route specifically. But I think it's an awesome opportunity to, uh, 10x your investment deals with real estate. And people don't necessarily know that they can do that, but you absolutely can, and escape taxes versus going a self-directed IRA method. So, uh, and there's other specific instances you could get into on how much taxes you would have to pay based on how much you get in. But if you don't have to pay taxes, don't do it. There's just no reason to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that was most appealing to eQRP was I can max out my 401k, put $19,500 a year into my traditional. I can put up to $37,500 into my Roth. And even though I'm putting that money in there into these tax deferred accounts and these retirement accounts, I still have the ability, if I ever needed it in an emergency fund, to be able to give myself a loan. But the biggest benefit was, as an entrepreneur, you're building your business. You want to not pay as many taxes as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
You want to set that money there, but you also want to have access to it on a rainy day, and being able to write yourself a promissory note and have a loan is super powerful. But in the meantime, when it's just sitting there, you guys also set up a holding company in the beautiful, and I use that term beautiful loosely, state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
Beautiful from a business standpoint, but not my favorite place to look at.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit more about how that works and why you guys would set up a holding company for your investments?
Absolutely. So uh, you need to protect yourself against yourself, right? Because anything can happen. So for us, we have built in an extra form of asset and liability protection into our plan. So it protects you and it protects your investments depending on what you get into, right? So especially with alternative investments, it's a great thing to have. We set it up in Wyoming specifically because of the charging order protection that you get, and the anonymity that you get behind the LLC. So, hypothetical scenario, let's just say Samson is renting a house from Bobby and Bobby's eQRP owns it. Samson's out there drinking a nice cup of sweet tea, and then the porch collapses on him. He breaks his leg, and you try to go sue. You may be able to get a little bit. Like, let's just say that the damages are 500,000, and you've got 100,000, and you need to go get 400 more thousand from Bobby. With his retirement held up in this LLC, the lawyers are going to go be looking to say, okay, what else does he have? But the name that they're going to see is that name of the LLC. They do not know who sits behind it. It takes on the tax ID number, the LLC does, of the retirement plan. So the IRS sees that, okay, we recognize this LLC as a retirement plan, but what the courts see is that name. So the only way you could get money out is if there's any distributions deployed, but you don't have to send money out of it. So what a lawyer does when they look at that, is how am I going to get paid for this deal? And since there's no way that they're going to find out who's behind it, you have to go to Wyoming, hire a lawyer there to try against it. And then you're not even guaranteed you're going to get paid ever. So the majority of the time, I'd say probably every time, is that they're just going to say, look, let's just take the money and go, because you aren't going to get anything out of this. And they don't know what's in it.
Yep.
So that's why we set that up, because it's got the best coverage for all your assets inside of that LLC.
It's like it's essentially a blind state, right? Like you can't see who owns the
Absolutely.
company.
Yep.
So effectively, if I wanted to invest in Bobby's deal,
Yep.
I would move the money from my traditional, my Roth inside of my 401k to this holding company's account.
Yep.
And from there, I would make the investment, 123 Wyoming LLC holding company into Bobby's syndication, and I would get that little sliver and all the returns, the
Correct.
cash flow, the appreciation, the loan pay down, the final payoff and redistribution of the money would go back into my account. Now, are there some advantages in investing via your 401k in a real estate syndication? Should the asset be sold and not 1031 or refinanced out, that I would get by using my eQRP that I wouldn't get if I just put cash into it and didn't use my 401k, like tax protection?
Yeah, so it's a retirement plan. So you can't utilize depreciation because you're already not paying taxes on it, right? It's
Right.
deferred. And then the 1031s, you're still not getting taxed. So I think that's the big, let's point that out, is that the taxes don't really exist inside of this plan, either currently or ever, depending on how you set it up with Roth, right? So I would say that if your strategy is to put money in and utilize that to, uh, for me personally, you could do refi, right? If you needed to get some more cash with your retirement to go in on another deal, anything that you get back from that refi would go back into your retirement plan.
Right.
So does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. So essentially, if I was just putting cash into a deal and in 5 to 7 years it went full cycle, they sold it, I would be hit with the tax burden. But if I did it using my traditional inside of that, it would go back into my traditional account and
Correct.
I wouldn't be taxed on it until I retired in the future.
Correct.
Or took withdrawals. And
Correct.
if it was in my Roth account, then I wouldn't be taxed on it at all, ever. So
Yep.
why would I guess my point is why wouldn't you do that, right? Instead of just taking cash and putting it in there, why wouldn't you just put the money into your self-directed Roth and then put it into the syndication and effectively never have to pay taxes on it in perpetuity?
It seems kind of just an obvious statement, right? Like, especially if you know what you're doing in real estate, you understand the types of returns that you can get. it's a no-brainer, right?
Yep.
And especially for those, I talked with a guy recently who is already past the retirement age. He was like 62. Everything he had was Roth, and he still has 10 years before he has to take RMDs. And so I'm like, you literally can be making free money with your free money. Like, how
Right.
awesome is that? Like, you were in a perfect scenario to do this. So,
Yep.
so yeah, I think what that approach is awesome if you can do it. And everybody's situation is different, right?
Yep.
What they can put in, what they have existing to, roll over from other plans. But that's what our team's here to help do. So if they're asking questions about that, we're here to help talk through those type strategies. And that's
So
just another added bonus you get with our team.
so who's a good fit? I rolled a 401k over from a previous W-2 into my own self-directed, but
Yep.
I've known people who have W-2s who also have their own investment companies or other businesses, and they also set up their own self-directed 401k, maybe because with their W-2, they're only getting a certain amount of matching, so they're not actually maxing out the maximum contribution. So walk us through some of those scenarios and structures and who would ultimately be a good fit for.
So I think an important thing to talk about real quick is values, right? So it's not, there's a lot of people that are good fits, but they aren't a good fit because of the type of plan that the values that this supports, right? So if you're a self-responsible individual, this is a perfect plan for you, right? And so there's a lot of people who have tons of eligible accounts to move in, but they're too scared to step off and do it themselves. They're just risk averse. Like, that's just their first move. So it's important focusing on values first. Like, you two guys, you know what you want. You're like, I want complete control of my money. Y'all are perfect fits, and you did what you had to do to make it happen, right? Because you're looking long term. The different types of people that qualify, that have old traditional IRAs, we'll just say it like this: everything is eligible to move over, other than Roth IRAs and inherited IRAs. Those are the only two that can't move inside of a 401k structure. So that's just for your direct rollover portion. For your contribution piece, if you have a side hustle, then you qualify, right? I mean, you could be posted up outside on your lawn selling lemonade, and that qualifies you. All the IRS states that you have to be showing intent to produce business activity that is subject to self-employment tax, or if you've got an LLC that you're paying yourself out of, if you've got like rental homes, right, or maybe some other consulting work that you're doing to run through an LLC, that money would be able to be contributed inside of this plan. So if you got a W-2, it's okay. You still qualify. If you're a syndicator, you qualify. If you're a consultant, you qualify. I mean, there's so many
Hey,
different ways
Parker.
that you can qualify.
So, quick question. Like, one of the things whenever I was out on leave with my son, I started studying people who were getting into Airbnb experiences, like doing glamping.
Yeah.
And
I'm a
this
glamper.
guy, yeah, this guy, he's making $300,000 a year, and they're actually very affordable to set up. You just have to be savvy and kind of know what to do.
Yeah.
And that led me to thinking, and I went down this rabbit hole of how to create YouTube content, how to build your own business. And a lot of people are doing that now. Like, everyone is investing, everyone's learning how. Robinhood's made it easy. And I think through an eQRP, because we do get to create the LLC structure, like Samson mentioned, in the state of Wyoming, that's a good tool where if you wanted to kickstart your business and take a loan, let's say for a passive Airbnb, would that qualify? That's question one.
Yeah. So great question. And I'm glad you asked that. So you can have your cake and eat it too inside of this plan. So people think, oh, I have to remain completely passive, which yes, you do. But if you're in that case where you're wanting to start your own business to generate income, like taxable income, the way the transaction would work is you've got your eQRP, right? And you take a loan from it personally. So that up to $50,000 or half the plan value. So the transaction is looked at as a loan, and you're paying yourself back plus interest on that, which is even better, right? You're not paying a Wells Fargo or Chase or whoever you're, borrowing from. You're paying yourself plus interest. So you're making money off yourself first. Then you take that 50,000. and you could go buy $50,000 of beef jerky, whatever you want to do with it. It doesn't matter. But let's go say you set up your own Airbnb. Now that money, as long as you pay that loan back to yourself, right, the bank, over 5-year amortization, then this is now your active business making you extra money. So once that money's back, you cannot take another personal loan out of it for another year. So what's today, the 15th? So let's just say you took it out today and you paid it back tomorrow, then you couldn't take another personal loan out until July 16th, 2022. You could take another one out then and then do the same exact thing.
So I love that because it's a creative way where if you know you can deploy that capital in an intelligent way, your year timer starts. Hopefully you're generating return. And then by the time that year hits, Lord willing, you've paid it off. But now you've got the 2 to 3, whatever the rate is, % back, and the return within the business. You can take an even larger loan out, assuming that it didn't hit the 50K mark you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, the other question I have too is content creation is actually the #1 business in America. I learned when I went down this rabbit hole too. A lot of people are like building their own brands. I mean, in a way, we're doing that right now. We're creating educational content online for people.
Yep.
So someone who wants to do that, they could also do that as well if they wanted to get a camera set up and maybe like create their own business at home, like a lot of people are doing after the pandemic. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've probably never been in more of an entrepreneurial time, especially with our generation, right, than today. Everybody is out building their own personal brand. Everybody is out trying to be the next big thing, right? But you're as long as you're generating that income or that activity, whether it's promoting yourself, promoting a product, that there's so many different ways you can make money like that. And anything that you make, let's say you're a YouTube sensation, then however you're being paid, that money could then be put into a plan like this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very
So
creative.
to make a distinction, just for everybody to be clear on it, I'm clear on it, but if I'm going to take an investment and put that into a deal, it can't be my own deal. So if I'm the lead syndicator, it's my apartment. Correct. I can't do that. But if I wanted to use money from my 401k to put down earnest money on an apartment complex where I was the lead syndicator, I could give myself a 401k loan, right? And I could go and do it that way, just so long as I paid back that interest on that loan over time.
Correct. And it's always the transaction is looked at in the eyes of the IRS. 401k, aka you, are loaning. That's the transaction, is that loan. Now, what you do with that money doesn't matter. So you could go take it and do whatever with it. But you couldn't be a syndicator and then say, oh, be the bell cow for the deal, right? Like I've got $500,000 of my own money, but if it's your retirement money, then that's a disqualified action, and the IRS is going to just murder you for it. You're going to get taxed, penalized, have to take it all out. It'd be a terrible situation. So don't do that if you're ever thinking that.
But that's why people have you, because that's what stops people from being their own trustee and managing their own account is, well, what about that situation? What if I do something stupid? Or how do I get this paperwork and all that? And you guys have already taken care of all that stuff, which is awesome.
We're going to have to put Yoda on the thumbnail, man, because you are the Yoda. I have a meeting with you next week. It's true.
Well, so yeah, that's the beauty in it, right? Is that, and I always say, if it's gray, stay away, right? So over time, you get more and more confident. And that's what my goal is, to help make you more confident. I don't want to be a babysitter. Nobody likes to be babysitters, right? My goal is to empower you to be able to make those decisions down the road. So then you're going out doing all these deals, not having to call me and asking, like, oh yeah, like I remember talking about this with Parker and, walking through this. Not saying I don't want you to call me if you're like, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm thinking through this right. But we're teachers, right? We want to teach you to go and therefore do. And then you guys are the ones going out telling all your friends, like, hey, look, guys, I got this awesome thing that I'm investing in all these different deals. And you're over here playing in, GameStop stocks or whatever else you got going on.
Well, I mean, I'll commend you guys because, when I was first doing it, there's just a lot of moving parts and things that you don't understand, and even jargon or language. And I probably asked a million stupid questions, and you guys were so patient with me until I got it figured out. And now I feel like a pro. I feel like I got it really figured out. I understand the concept of it. And again, the scariest part was all the nuances, right? Like making a
Yeah.
mistake, not doing it right. Because it can literally be just simply like not properly rolling over your 401k can cause a taxable event. Doing a withdrawal and putting it in and go, no, I rolled it over. That's not a rollover.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So I can't emphasize that enough is that y- when you're thinking about retirement, it's a macro play, right? And so for us, people say, "Oh, well, y'all are, more expensive than all these other people." Then, like, yes, we are, but we have a whole team that we field to serve our clients 24/7. So for me, I value customer service. I value a warm body that I can call and I know is going to pick up. Yes, I'm 30 years old and I might just be old school in the way of that. But nothing is more frustrating than not being able to get an answer when you need it or any direction when you ask for it, right? And so they might point you, oh, follow this link and read our FAQs. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. I need help on this specific question, and that's what we want to do. So um, if you don't know what you're doing, then we've seen it time and time again because we're on the phones fighting for our clients that I've had rollovers that I've done that took 4 months because the custodian was not issuing the legal moves that we had initiated on our end, and they were fighting it tooth and nail because A, they didn't want to lose money, and B, they were trying to make it as frustrating for the client. So they just be like, all right, screw it, I'm done with it. We're going to keep my money here. It's just too frustrating. We do all the fighting on the front lines for our clients and make sure that everything gets done and done right, and that there's no taxable events that happen for them. So that's such a big thing I like to, note, is because we do love doing that for our clients.
That's awesome. I was having dinner with a friend last night. All of our friends are having babies right now, so it's like we're always having these creative conversations. And his wife, their kid's a year old, and now the kid's not sleeping as much. Grandma can't take care of him. And I was talking to him. I was like, well, what if you worked part-time, the wife, because she still wanted to work a little bit, but she might only make 20 or 30K a year, but she could still pre-tax take that money, since he makes enough, put it all into the eQRP, invest it into the retirement, but still be able to leverage it in creative ways to create outcomes they want to run their own personal business and brand. So
Yeah.
there's so many ways you can apply it, and I think it's just worth having that conversation and just learning about it. Like, I love that you guys send out that free book where it just has all these different ways in which you can leverage it. Like, that was one of the coolest things. And this video is obviously helpful, but it's just been tremendous. Like, every couple of weeks I kind of discover a new way it can be used. And I think it just takes having that conversation, being creative, willing to reach out, and understanding the value that comes from it and what it can create for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and real quick, shameless plug. We will drop our referral link in the comments below.
There you go. Yeah. And two, there's, like I said, the small business owner, the solopreneur. I mean, everybody can get access to their funds if they want it. The tough part, right, is just making that decision and taking that first step. The first step is the scariest part to doing anything, right? Because we want to know, A, am I going to be okay? B, like, am I getting what I'm being sold, quote unquote? And C, if things go wrong, am I still going to be okay? And we take care of everything for you because we're walking with you every step of the way. So you may have frustration along the way, but we're there to limit that and help knock that down and make that process of frustration go from possibly like this to this for you. So, but yeah,
Awesome.
shameless plug. Go
click the link, get the
yeah,
book.
go cop their link, get the book.
And if you sign up, we may or may not get a referral.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Parker, is there anything key or clutch we want to cover maybe in these last 5-10 minutes or so that we didn't cover that's pretty important for listeners?
Yeah. So I would say one last thing to look at is if you haven't filed your taxes. I mean, we're July. There's a lot of people that are kind of from last year still feel like they got haymakered, right? And they're like, I'm going to wait till like the very last minute to file my taxes. You can do a retroactive eQRP. You can set one up for 2020. So let's just say you made a ton of extra money and you want to go ahead and lower your taxable burden, then you can establish one of these plans, contribute for 2020, and also contribute for 2021. So if you're a business owner and have employees, you can set one up and establish that, contribute, and then also do one for 2021 as well. So I would say that's something to think about if you haven't done it and you've got, who knows how much extra cash lying around you don't want to be taxed on. This is a great way to do that. And the fact I wanted to point out is that with our newest product we just launched, being the Safe Harbor eQRP, small business owners and entrepreneurs have access now to be able to take control of their retirement funds. And the process looks the same for business owners and employees. We serve the employees the same way we serve the business owners in terms of a resource, take care of all the setup process. You have complete control over your retirement accounts. And personally, I think what's beautiful about it is, as a business owner, if you value that, how awesome is it that you get to teach those values to your employees that may never have an opportunity to do something like that? You can use it as a teaching tool to say, hey, like, let me teach you about money. I'm going to put some money in there for you, but let's talk about how to invest this for, you yourself and maybe your family down the road. So
Awesome.
we have that available as well to talk through, and everybody's situation is different, but that's why we're here, is to kind of work through all those things with the potential people out there.
Well, that's great. Samson, anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
I just think that everybody should look into it regardless, of where you're at, if you think you're a good fit or not. Like Parker said, I've had friends who have, full-time W-2 jobs. I mean, they have, pretty good 401ks. They're getting really good distributions via their stock because their companies are going public, and they were still able to figure out a way on how to set up a self-directed 401k because he was not, my buddy was not happy with the contributions and the investments available to him inside of his company provided 401k. So he was effectively just closing that down, rolling it over, and setting up his own via his investment company that he was running. So there's just, everybody needs to have the conversation. That's why we're doing this. That's why we got Parker on. Me and Bobby are huge advocates for eQRP. Bobby and I are big fans of decentralization, laissez-faire, and power to the people. And I don't think there's a better way that you can do that within the tax code and the retirement planning code than you can within eQRP. So there's my plug.
Yeah, crypto.
Yeah.
Bobby loves some crypto, and what a great
Bitcoin.
way to, yeah.
But
there's distinction there. Be careful. You're gonna get him.
yeah, I mean, this is important. Like my friend told me the term, there's esoteric knowledge, and it's typically understood by a small number of people with specialized knowledge. And until someone told me about real estate syndications, until someone told me about Bitcoin, until someone told me about eQRP, I was operating like an average Joe. I'm at a point right now where I'm thinking on a very high level, and I've got the right people around me who encourage me and guide me. And it was just seeking out, being intentional with that esoteric knowledge. And that's what I think the eQRP is. Like, you need to reach out. There's someone with specialized knowledge you may not know. And by not taking advantage of it, you're almost casting your vote to give yourself less options and less opportunity for success in life. And that'd be my mic drop.
Yeah, and Damien really makes this point where he talks about starfish, right? So a starfish has different layers to it and ways you can go. And Bobby, to your point, I think it's important to not focus on a starfish approach, but rather focus on one or two things that you know really well and go down that route. Because if you spend all your energy, time, and knowledge chasing things that you really aren't that good at, but just to say, oh, I've got a diverse portfolio, like, that's not going to help you. But I think if you've got options, you've got the flexibility in a plan like this, right, to choose 2, maybe 3 routes that you're really good at, pursue it and take advantage of it. And so, just like you said, Bobby, I think the esoteric knowledge, it's super important, and to utilize that knowledge in a plan like this to make those returns you want.
Well, great,
Awesome.
man. Well, we appreciate you being here. We'll put the link below just so everyone can connect with you. But yeah, thanks again. And
Thanks, Parker.
thank you for being of service to us all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, brother.
All right, guys.